Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well as usual. Thanks for joining me once again and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to go back to my existing CD collection, and if you have been watching, you'll know I'm up to the letter M. In the last video in this series, I was talking about Manowar. So today in the alphabet, we're up to none other than Marduk. So what I'm going to do is show all of the Marduk albums I own, which are 15 in total, 15 studio albums, and to make it more interesting, I'm also going to do a ranking of those albums. So just be aware that this does not include singles, EPs, and live albums, many of which I do own. That will be in a separate video. Today we're just talking about the studio albums. So yes, Marduk probably need no introduction. They are a premier Swedish black metal band, one of the biggest names in Swedish black metal. And there's some, I know the correct pronunciation is Marduk, but I always feel that's like really awkward to say, so I just go with the Latin pronunciation of you, like Marduk. But then again, I've heard some Brits and Aussies say Marduk. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about. Absolutely classic band, and altogether now, you've heard me say this, they're my favorite black metal band of all time. So before I go into the ranking, I'm just going to give a little introduction for those who don't know. So Marduk was established in 1990 by the sole original remaining member, Morgan Steinmeier Håkansson, or Morgan Håkansson. So he's been the only consistent member in the band. And if you don't know their sound, I would describe them as the AC/DC of black metal, in the sense that they have a very consistent sound. So just like with AC/DC, when you buy a Marduk album and you're a fan, essentially you know what you're going to get, that's what you expect, but that's also exactly what you want, and therefore it's brilliant. So that's the magic of this band, just like AC/DC. So in terms, what is that actual sound? Like, it's basically fast and aggressive black metal with thunderous blast beat drumming, chaotic and powerhouse riffs, and violent raspy vocals. So I would say that these are the three main components of the Marduk sound. And yeah, in addition to that, because they have a big body of work, it is difficult to rank the albums, especially because I would say that they have three general overall eras. So there's the early period, which consists of the first 4 albums, where the lead vocalist was mainly Joachim af Graf, with the exception of the first album, where it was Andreas Axelsson. And then you have what is known as the mid-period, which consisted of the classic lineup with Legion on vocals, as well as Morgan, B. War, and Frederick. And then you have what could generally be classified as the modern period, which is the period in which Mortis is the vocalist, like currently. So that lineup has consisted mainly of Morgan, Mortis, and Devo Anderson, and a revolving door of drummers. So yeah, 3 main eras. And so when I refer to the eras when I'm talking about these albums, I'm going to say it by the vocalist's name. So, you know, Joachim, Legion, or Mortis. So like I did with the Enthroned ranking, I said it's a Sabathan era album or a Nornagest era album, just to get you up to speed with essentially which era I'm talking about. Okay, and so going back to their trademark sound, I would say that the sound has changed and varied slightly through the different eras of the band, but they have always retained the key elements of their trademark sound. So like there's been a little bit of variety, but you can always tell it's Marduk. So like I said, a very consistent band. They've obviously inspired a lot of black metal bands, which also did something different. For example, like I think they were a big influence on Dark Funeral, although Dark Funeral are sort of darker and more haunting. I think they were very influential on the Belgian band Enthroned as well, although Enthroned is more melodic and takes more influences from 80s heavy metal. But just like with AC/DC, despite a lot of people who have been inspired and despite a lot of imitators, there is only one Marduk, and they have a really unique and unmistakable sound, which is limited exclusively to them. Yeah, so just talking about this ranking, I'm going to make the reviews short and punchy, hopefully, because we've got a lot of albums to get through, so I can't go into every little minuscule detail. I'm sure you're relieved about that. And with regards to the ranking, just to make it very clear from the outset, I think that all albums range from really good to brilliant, with the exception of just one album, which I think is just okay. So today's ranking will include the 15 studio albums, and like I said, like I've often said, like I'm not saying that my opinion is the law. This is simply my opinion and it's objective. I know other people's rankings will be different, and it would be absolutely boring if we were all the same. Speaking of which, I know there are a lot of Marduk rankings up on YouTube. I deliberately didn't watch them because I didn't want to be swayed or influenced by those. However, I did watch one done by Just Another Heavy Metal Maniac a few months back, because I'm a big fan of his channel and I watch everything he uploads, mostly, unless it's a genre I not really into like doom metal. So I saw his months and months ago, but yeah, this is an independent ranking. So 15 albums. I hope to make the reviews just like a Marduk song, so short, punchy, and to the point. Let's see how I go. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to rank them from least favorite, so number 15 at the bottom, to most favorite, number 1 at the top. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, coming in at number 15 by a long shot, easily for me, is Wormwood from 2009. So this is an album from the Mortis era of the band, so quite a modern one. And I don't think it's a terrible album, but as I said, this is the only album in the Marduk discography which I think is just okay. So it's by no means a terrible album. I just find that it's not particularly exciting, and there aren't a lot of standout tracks. Like, a lot of these songs descend into background ambience for me, and I tune out a lot during this album. And in addition to that, I find in general it's too long. But that's not to say it's absolutely awful. Like, it is good. It's weird because it has that trademark Marduk sound, like all of those key elements which I mentioned, but it's just that a lot of the songs are not particularly memorable, at least to me. So it's one of those Marduk albums where you say, yeah, it's Marduk, but it's just there. It doesn't really stand out. So yeah, I would say the majority of songs on this album sort of, for me, fall into that just okay category. So there's no bad or terrible songs. Oh, with the exception of, what was that one? Unclosing the Curse. Yeah. So that's just got this tolling bell and ambient meandering, which is kind of filler. And also, As a Garment, that's just got this repetitive bass and drums for most of the song, and the guitars and vocals join at the end. But like, so 2 quite boring songs. Most of the songs are okay, but there are a couple of really good songs. I really like track 2, which is entitled Funeral Dawn. That's slow but hypnotic, and it's got a good riff and melody. And having said that, though, even that song, which is one of my good songs, I find that a bit repetitive. I also think another really good track is Whore Crown, which is varied and got a sort of jangly sound with the riffing and a catchy melody over the blasting. So so those two are the only 2 songs I really like on the album, Funeral Dawn and Whore Crown. And even those, I would say, they're not fantastic, but they're pretty good. So yeah, that's just my honest assessment of this album. Like, it's not terrible, but it just doesn't stand out to me too much. So if I were you and you'd never heard Marduk, I wouldn't recommend starting with this one, because it may put you off as one which is not that exciting. But yeah, so what I'm going to do at the end of each one is just show the booklet and the details, just to give myself a breather. So here is the booklet. It's got the trademark logo, all of the lyrics and so on, pictures of the band, and it's an effing thick, massive booklet, so yeah, I won't show it all. And yeah, there's the disc. Yeah, so like I said, this is the only Marduk album which is just okay to me. Coming in at number 15, Wormwood. Okay, coming in at number 14, this may shock a few people actually, but I've considered this very carefully. Coming in at number 14, we have Victoria from 2018. So I know some people will be alarmed, saying, what? How could you say that? This is a brilliant album. Well, hear me out. Like, this one comes in at number 14 by default, really. Like, because like I said, from here onward, from number 14 to number 1, all of these Marduk albums are at the very least really good. So I rate this one well above Wormwood. There's an abyss between this one and Wormwood. So this is like absolutely really good album. And the songs are much punchier and more memorable than those on Wormwood. And most of the songs have good riffs and melodies juxtaposed over the chaotic blast beats. The production is excellent. Like, it's really, like, it's polished without being too clean, and it's very loud and bombastic. So it's got this nice compressed sound, which I really like. So yeah, like I said, I really enjoy a lot of songs on this album. The only issue for me is that while this album contains some excellent songs, nearly half of the songs on this album are, to me, not all that memorable. So it's sort of like a 50-50 album for me, like with half being excellent and the other half just sort of being there. So but having said that, the good songs really shine. So there's, yeah, a few okay songs, so I won't mention those, but my favorite songs on the album, let's just get straight to the meat of this thing. The opening track, Werewolf, is brilliant, like with those caustic vocals from Mortis. I also really like Tiger One, because that's a heavy track, like sort of like paying tribute to the battle tank, like as they did in so it's describing that tank, like as they did in Panzer Division Marduk. And I also really like Nava, yeah, that's got a very catchy riff and it's very easy to sing along to, especially that part where Mortis says hammering, keep hammering, just really catchy stuff. And killer blast beats, and it's got that old Marduk feel, that's Nava. And my other favorite track on the album is the title track, Victoria, just so incredibly catchy with those vocal patterns, and you know, the drums are blasting, but when they slow down, like, you know, into halftime, and Mortis is screaming Victoria, it's just so anthemic, you can't help but get into it. So yeah, they are the songs which really shine for me on the album. So Werewolf, Tiger One, Nava, and Victoria. And like I said, most of the others are just okay to me. And then the only song which I find bad is Silent Night, which is just a bit, that's the closing track, that's slow, boring, and repetitive. So yeah, like I said, this is a 50-50 album. Like, half of it is brilliant, the other half just doesn't stand out all that much. But yeah, very good and worthwhile. I would recommend this album. So there's the cover, and just showing you the booklet. All of the lyrics, picture of the band, cool. Yeah, so from here on, including this one, all of the Marduk albums are at least really good. So coming in at number 14, Marduk with Victoria. Okay. All right, so I feel I may need some water during this video because there's a lot of talking. Okay, coming in at number 13. Now, we have World Funeral from 2003. So this is sort of a landmark album for a few reasons. It was the last album to be produced by Peter Tegtrin in Abyss Studios, and it was also the last album to feature Legion on vocals. So this is a Legion era album. And B War on bass, so they would leave the band after this album. It's also the first album to feature drummer Emil Dragonovich on drums after the classic mid-period drummer Fredrik Andersson left the band. So the band was sort of going through a few lineup changes before and after this album, and I think that is reflected in the quality of the album. But like, again, this is a really good album. What's interesting, I like the fact that they brought guitar solos back on this album, which they hadn't really done much in the mid-period. And there's a really nice clattery drum sound and the classic Legion era production, you know, done by Peter Tegtrin. And a lot of the slower songs sound really heavy. So just to cut to the chase, Legion was my favorite vocalist of Marduk, so it's got his classic vocals. That's not to say that Mortis isn't brilliant, because he is, but like, Legion was my favorite. So now, why does this come in at number 13? I would say the album starts off really strongly, but then there are some boring songs in the middle, and after those, the album kind of, it picks up again, but not to the same extent as the beginning of the album. So it kind of drops off in the second half, in my opinion. But let's go, like, I'll talk firstly about the songs which don't grab me much. Like, To the Death's Head True is a good song because it's a slow song, but it's heavy. But the song that I've never liked on this album is Castrum Dolores, because it's just sort of like, trudgy and dragging and sort of melodic and happy, and a lot of the people accuse Marduk of being like selling out for that song. I don't think it's a sellout song, I just think it's boring, Castrum Dolores. And then there are a lot of songs which are just sort of okay, but we'll get straight to my favorite songs. Like the album opens with Satan and Victorious Weapons, which is absolutely brilliant, blasting track. It's a live favorite. I also really like Bleach Bones, which is like very slow and heavy and haunting, not typical of what Marduk was doing in the mid-period, which was interesting, but like it's sort of an original song. And probably my favorite songs on the album are tracks 3 and 4, namely Cloven Hoof and World Funeral. And they are just relentless blast fests, both of them, with blistering guitar solos, and I absolutely love them. I especially like Cloven Hoof out of those, like Cloven Hoof and World Funeral. Like Cloven Hoof, just blasting and relentless, and Legion's vocals are so manic. Like, you hear him at one point, like he's almost running out of breath, like he's getting out of control because there's so much anger and hatred. Like, Legion always gave 100% with his vocals. So yeah, with Satan and Victorious Weapons is the live pick from this album, but I would say to the band, oh, you should play Cloven Hoof and World Funeral because they're both kick-ass songs. That's just my opinion. And then you have a lot of songs which are just kind of okay. Like I still like Night of the Long Knives. The mid riff in that is really good. Bloodletting has a good guitar melodies, and Blessed Unholy is good. But like in the second half, the songs aren't as memorable. And Black Crown is that famous outro from A Clockwork Orange. So yeah, a bit like Victoria. This, like, the songs which are really good, I find really shine on this, but there are a couple of songs which are boring and a few which are just okay to me, but definitely worth your while, like for the good songs alone. So just showing you the cover here. And all of the lyrics, I like the art direction and color of this album. Cool picture of the band there. Yep, and this is probably my favorite disc in the CD collection, just that smart logo in black and red, very cool and iconic. I've always liked Marduk's logo. Yep, so really good album. Coming in at number 13 is World Funeral. Okay, coming in at number 12 now. Sorry, I'm just scrolling up to consult my notes. All right. Coming in at number 12 now, we have ROM 512 from 2007. So this is a very diverse album in terms of tempos and atmospheres, and it's perhaps one of the most diverse albums Marduk has ever done, in my opinion. Quite a lot of it is experimental, and different things are done on this album which they don't normally do or hadn't done until this point. But for me, the shortcoming with this album is sometimes the songs are way too long or repetitive, and some of the songs tend to wander and meander a bit. But for example, on Imago Mortis, which I think is a good song, and in addition, I find a couple of tracks just quite boring. But like, I don't mean to focus on the negatives, because the really good songs are excellent. What I like about this album is it's got a good meaty production. You can hear the bass well, and the drums are nice and punchy and clattery, which is really good. So yeah, let's talk about, you know, I always start with the negative points, then go to the positives. But okay, strangely, they open the album with the most boring song, in my opinion, which is the Leveling Dust. It's not a terrible song, but it's catchy enough, but it's like a kind of slow song, and it's just a bit boring to me. So I don't know why they did that. And then there are a couple of songs which are just okay for me, namely Womb of Perishableness and Voices from Avignon. Is that? Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, Voices from Avignon, the last track. So the last two tracks I don't find that interesting. But for me, the rest of the album is excellent. Like, I really like Cold Mouth Prayer, fucking awesome, blasting classic Marduk with guest vocals from Joachim Afgrav. I really like Imago Mortis, especially with that uncharacteristic, simplistic 4/4 drumming intro, which is not what you'd expect of Marduk. It's more something you'd expect of Burzum. But that is a very good track, like very memorable and catchy. It just drags a bit. Through the Belly of Damnation is a great blast fest track. I really like 1651, which is kind of like an ambient keyboard track invoking medieval atmospheres. And yeah, Limbs of Worship is also very good, as well as Vanity of Vanities. But undoubtedly my favorite track on the album is Accuser Opposer, which is just an extremely slow, heavy track with clean vocals from the guy from Thy Primordial, I think. But those vocals and that song, it's just so heavy, like Mortis. Oh, sorry, this is a Mortis era album, so Mortis on vocals. So Mortis's raspy black metal vocals juxtaposed with the Thy Primordial singers, like really powerful melodic vocals. It's excellent. That song makes me want to rip trees from the ground. So absolutely fantastic stuff. So again, only 3 tracks which I really dislike, and the rest of the album's really good. The thing is, sometimes some songs can be a bit repetitive and drag on a bit. But apart from that, it's definitely worth it for the good songs. So let's have a look at the cover art. Really cool. I like this one with the skeletons. Yep. And this kind of has a sort of like religious theme, as did other albums, pictures of the band. So I think a lot of it is to do with medieval times and the Bible, but obviously not from a pro-biblical perspective. And yeah, I should, as usual, I don't really pay much attention to the lyrics on later albums, just because I haven't got around to it. But yeah, really good album. So like I said, it's grown on me a lot over the years. Like this one, it's one of those ones where you could say it's a changing perspective album, because I really liked it when it was first released. Then I went through a phase where I thought it was boring, and then I've rediscovered it. So most of the songs are really good. So coming in at number 12, ROM 512 from 2007. Okay, guys, I'm very conscious of the fact that I don't want to talk too long, so I'm really trying my best here. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so coming in at number 11 now, we have La Grande Danse Macabre. So this is from the year 2001, and this is a Legion era album. In fact, this was the last album to feature the classic mid-period lineup of Morgan, Legion, B-War, and drummer Frederick Anderson. because sadly Frederick Anderson departed the band after this album, and because Marduk have always been in obscurity, I'm not sure the reason why. But while this is a good album, this also showed the first signs maybe that perhaps the classic lineup of the mid-period was getting a bit stale and predictable, dare I say, and had sort of reached its course. And I think that's actually why they made lineup changes. So I'm not being a picky bitch and criticizing the band, but like it sort of became a bit formulaic by this point. But at the same time, this album is interesting. This album, it's interesting because the few albums prior to this were mostly really fast, but this album is uncharacteristically featuring a lot of slower songs, and I think they did that deliberately because the album before this was Panzer Division Marduk, which was of course like a hyper blast fest. But yeah, most of the songs are really good on this album, and it's got that classic lineup, classic mid-period sound. The songs which I find just okay are the instrumental Pompa Funebris, but it is interesting because it's slow. The song Bonds of Unholy Matrimony, I'm not really into most of that song, but when it gets going with the blasting and the guitar solo, it's a total fucking eargasm for me, so I really like that, the guitar solo in Bonds of Unholy Matrimony. And the other songs which I find just okay, like Death, Sex, Ejaculation, although that song is growing on me because it's actually pretty catchy. And Funeral Bitch, that is a good song, except I much prefer the version they did on the EP Obedience, which I'll talk about in the next video. So no bad songs, I've just mentioned the okay songs, but let's talk about my favorites. So the melodic bombastic opener, Ars Moriendi, which is an instrumental. Azrael is just a classic Blastfest Marduk song, which is absolutely brilliant. Obedience Unto Death, oh god, I love that song. The riffing and the Legion's vocals are just so awesome in it. I also like the title track, Le Grand Dance Macabre, which is slow and hypnotic. It's got a kind of Middle Eastern atmosphere as well, which is cool. Also, this album shows the band doing different things, like with Summer's End, there's some noodling on the bass, and that's a slow, atmospheric, dark track, which is not usual for Marduk. Usually they're just blasting away like there's no tomorrow. So really like that. And then the album closes with Jesus Christ Sodomized, which is a very catchy a very catchy song too, and great lyrics from Legion. The lyric which always sticks in my head with that is, Jesus Christ sodomized one wound richer for each lighter man. I don't know, it just stands out. But yeah, so classic era Marduk sound. It's really good, just not as strong as some of the other ones. But I still really enjoy it, obviously, because as I said, from number 14 to number 1, all of these albums are at least really good. So there's the cover there. Okay, booklet with all of the lyrics, just a shorter one here. Broken cover, there's the disc. Yep, so there you have it. I don't need to repeat myself after doing the display. So yeah, coming in at number 11, Le Grand Dance Macabre. Okay. Thirsty work. And we still have a long way to go, fuck. Okay, coming in at number 10 now, Franschwein from 2015. So yeah, this is a really strong album, obviously. The only thing I'll say is I find it a bit dry compared to albums which I like more, but it is still really good. However, I will say, if I'm being honest, a lot of it is not overly memorable to me, and it's also a bit long, and once again, while there are no bad songs, it contains a few songs for me which I find just okay and or a bit drawn out and repetitive. So that seems to be a characteristic. So this is another Mortis era album. Like in the Mortis era, the band started doing that a bit more, like doing these really long drawn out songs, and whereas in the earlier days they were much like faster and punchier and more to the point. But yeah, this album is definitely worth it for the standout tracks. It's got a good, clean, crisp production with a good drum sound, but it's not too polished, so it's got that, you know, perfect mix basically. So yeah, I don't need to mention the okay songs, but like there's a few of those. There's no bad songs, but let's talk about some of my favorites. So Franschwein, the title track, that's blasting with good melodies. I also really like The Blonde Beast. That's like a catchy mid-paced song with a good groove. Africa is a fast, or Africa, because it's like a, oh, they're my neighbors. Okay, Africa with the German pronunciation, that's a fast and blasting song. I also really like Vaterland, which is like slow and marching with a really heavy groove. Rope of Regret is another fast and blasting song, and Between the Wolf Packs, it's mid-paced and groovy with a dark atmosphere. And also Filet Cauldron of Blood that's got good marching melodies and a nice fast chaotic riffing and blasting. So it's one of the best songs actually, that one, like Filet Cauldron of Blood. And I also really like Thousandfold Death. So most of the songs on this album are really good, with just a couple, like no bad songs, but just a couple of okay, drawn out, boring ones to me. But certainly the majority is really good. So just show you the cover here. So this is obviously, I didn't mention this before, but the band started with a very sort of staunch anti-Christian satanic theme, and they've retained that over the years. But then, as people will know, like from Panzer Division Marduk onwards, they started delving into the topic of World War II. So that's certainly prominent on this album. Okay, very thick booklet here with all of the lyrics and pictures of the band. Yep, so portraits there, cool. Yep, and I really like that. That's so iconic, awesome, with all the barbed wire surrounding the band. Okay, yep, so like I said, this is a very solid album, and most of the songs are really good, just not as memorable as some of the songs which I like more. So that's coming in at number 10, Frontschwein. Okay. All right. Now, I hope everyone doesn't mind, because as you know, this is like a CD collection video, but the next album, which is coming in at number 9, I only own on vinyl. So I'm sure you won't mind for the purposes of a ranking. So coming in at number 9, we have Serpent Sermon from 2012. So this is a Mortis era album, and to me this is actually the freshest sounding Marduk album. The reason being that it was the last one I picked up, and it was only a few months ago. I'm one of those weird people, I only listen to the album when I actually own it, you know, like rather than before. I think it's cheating or something. Maybe that's my OCD personality, but yeah, finally got my hands on this, and it's really good, very good, strong album. It's got a clean, powerful production, and on this album there's a lot of tempo variety, often even within the songs, so you have a lot of time changes. And what's interesting about this album is it's kind of a collaborative team effort, with only one song being written by guitarist Morgan. Most of the songs were written by Mortis and or drummers Lars Brodesson on this album, which is interesting, so maybe that's why it sounds a bit different. So yeah, I think it's a really good, strong album, but just not as memorable as some of the albums that I like more, once again. And I will say this, like, because this is quite fresh to me, it's coming in at number 9 still, which is like quite high in the ranking, but who knows, like, as I get to know it more, it may move up the ranks. But yeah, most of the songs on this are really good. Like the opening track, the title track, Serpent Sermon, is really good. Probably my favorite song on the album is Messianic Pestilence, which is absolutely killer. Just got that classic blasting Marduk sound, which is awesome. And same with Souls for Belial. I just really like that one. Like it's got a variety of tempos, but when it gets blasting and going, it's absolutely brilliant. And then I really like, yeah, Into Second World, Temple of Decay, Damnation's Gold, Hail Mary, Mammon, Gospel of the Worm, World of Blades. Like, all of these songs are really good. I won't go into the details of this, otherwise we'll be here all day, but I think was the only song that I didn't like so much. Oh no, the only song I think which is just okay on this album is Temple of Decay. But even that song, the reason why I found that just okay is because it's kind of repetitive, but it does have a good building atmosphere, especially with the synths in the background. So, but apart from that, this is just a classic Marduk, you know, where they're tearing away like there's no tomorrow, like blast fest, but also some tempo changes to keep it interesting. And yeah, so probably my favorite songs on the entire album, Messianic Pestilence and Souls for Belial, like as absolute top 2. So there's the cover. Just show you the gatefold. I won't show you the album, so a picture of the band here. Very cool. Yeah, so like I said, this is the freshest album to me, and as time goes by, maybe it'll rank higher for me. But for now, it's number 9, so Serpent Sermon. Right. Now, for the last 8, if you ask me, this is when we're getting into the really good stuff, the exceptional stuff. So I would say from number 8 onwards, these albums are absolutely essential. Yeah, so coming in at number 8, just have a sip of water. Coming in at number 8 is Nightwing from 1998. So this is a Legion era album, and it was the second album I ever owned by them, because the first album I bought by them was Heaven Shall Burn in 97. But yeah, this is just classic mid-period lineup brilliance. Like it's got that trademark Marduk sound with the chaotic riffing and the absolutely thunderous blasting drumming of Fredrik Andersson. And it's just fantastic. Like what's interesting is on the B side of this, they started slowing down with some slower songs, but those songs were not bad at all. Like for me, the only songs which are like just okay are the last two on the album. So what is it? Demi Quairain Tirani and Anno Domini, which is kind of an outro, but the rest of the songs on this album are absolutely brilliant. It starts off with a weird intro, but my favorite track on the album is Blood Tide XXX, or Three Crosses for the Brethren of Judas. Just like that typical Marduk blast fest, and then they shift into this mid-paced groove to inject your smoldering carcass with that kind of that groove and catchiness. And like when they're doing that mid-paced part, like Three Crosses breaks her skin, like the drum fills of Fredrik Andersson's like just thunderous. It's fucking brilliant. I just love that song, so that's my favorite on the album. Of Hell's Fire is really good. Some really good memorable lyrics in that. Also the crowd favorite Slay the Nazarene is a good song as well. Nightwing is classic, and then we go into the B-side with some slower songs. I really like Dreams of Blood and Iron. That's just like monumentally heavy. That's continuing the story about Dracula. And what else do we have there? Yeah, Drakelwader. And one that's grown on me, which is good as well, is Kaziklu Bay, the Lord Impaler. That's one which never stood out to me all that much. It subtly did, but I really liked it anyway. So yeah, it's got that classic Peter Tegtren Abyss Studios sound quality. So it's mostly blasting, but there's some groovy sections and some slow, heavy songs. It's just all those classic things that I love about the mid-period of Marduk. So absolutely awesome. So there's the cover, and this is one of those booklets like this, so horizontal with all of the lyrics, and picture of the band, cool. Yep, and showing previous albums. Yep, so coming in at number 8, Nightwing from 1998. God, I was hoping to like do two to 3 minutes per review. It's really difficult, but I'll do my best. All right. Coming in at number 7 now, so this is going to shock some people. It's going to shock and horrify some people. Like, why did you put it so low? But yes, coming in at number 7, Opus Nocturne from 1994. Everyone's going to type, why did you say that? Opus Nocturne is the best album, I hear you say. Yes, I understand, I get it. This is an absolutely brilliant album, no doubt. But in my case, there are just other albums that I like more. I know a lot of people consider this to be their number 1 album. But yeah, let's talk about why it's my number 7. Like, once again, I think the good songs on this album really shine, and there are no bad songs. There are just a couple of songs which I find a little bit boring, and they don't stand out, and I tune out a bit. Like, one of them being Materialized in Stone, the mid-pace track. I know a lot of people really love that song. I've never found it all that interesting, to be honest. And again, Demi Quairain Tirani, which was re-recorded on Nightwing. It's okay, that song, but it's just never stood out to me much. And like, there are a couple of other moments on the album when I kind of tune out. But overall, I think it's a really good album. I really like the production on this one. This was pre-Peter Tegtren, so it was sort of like raw, harsh, and chaotic. And the vocals, they're low in the mix, so they sound like this harsh nocturnal whisper, but it just suits the music so well. And the drums are really clicky, but not in a bad way. And also, like, when this was Fredrik Andersson's first album on drums, when you hear those drum fills, they kind of sound like bongo drums, but it's just this rawness, which is really good. So this album is just like so raw and harsh, like really fast and blasting, but atmospheric as well. And yeah, I just really love the strong songs on this album. Like Soul for Souls is my favorite song on the album. That's brilliant, following the keyboard intro of the appearance of Spirits of Darkness. Autumnal Reaper and From the Subterranean Throne Profound are really good as well. Another favorite track of mine on this is Untrodden Paths Wolves Part 2, which is a continuation of the song Wolves from those of the Unlight. Fast and blasting with a lot of atmosphere in that song, and I really like that hypnotic melodic groove they have in the middle, you know, after the part where they say, and the stench of death made us hungry. Fuck, it's an eargasm, so good. And then the song, what is it? Opus Nocturne, that's got some, it's like slow atmospheric song with some spoken words from from Abruptum, and another song, a really eerie, haunting, sinister one to close the album, is The Sun Has Failed. Yeah, so this was the first album with Fredrik Andersson on drums. Joachim surrendered the drums to Fredrik and just concentrated on vocals, which are really good. So yeah, great album. It's just there are other albums which I like more than this one, so I hope I haven't offended anyone too much. Like I said, every number from number 14 is really good, and then from 8 to number 1 is essential. So that's a cool epic cover art there. Hand-drawn picture of the band. Really like this photo, so cool. And of course the smart logo. I like the green theme on this one. So brilliant album, don't get me wrong, coming in at number 7. For me, shoot me if you want. No, don't, seriously. Opus Nocturne. Okay, all right. Coming in at number 6 then. We have Plague Angel from 2004. So this is interesting. This was the first album after the classic mid-period. So as I said, the final mid-period album was World Funeral after Frederick Anderson had left, Legion left, B-War left. So this is when Morgan got a renewed lineup, which was like a vitamin injection for the band because it gave the band this fresh energy and sound, I think. So this album saw the return of Devo Anderson, who had been on albums from the earlier days, like on bass and mixing, I think. And then Emil Draganovic was still the drummer, and this was Mortis's first album on vocals. This is absolutely a brilliant album, just a relentless, savage, vicious blast fest. It's fantastic, and it's like just about every single song is good on this. I think the only criticism I would say is like the last track drags on a bit, and some songs are a little bit drawn out, a little bit repetitive, but overall, like for the most part, the songs are absolutely excellent. Like the Hangman of Prague, the opening track is just, yep, back to that Marduk sound. And yeah, that's what I was going to say about the production on this album. It's kind of organic. It's not as polished as Peter Tegtron's one, but it just gives it this, instills the band with this fresh sound, which is great. Throne of Rats is absolutely awesome. Manic, fucking psychotic riffs in that, and Mortis's vocals are out of control. Absolutely brilliant, like in a good way. I really like Seven Angels, Seven Trumpets, which is like slow and heavy, especially with the drum sound. Absolutely awesome. Life's Emblem is another melodic, chaotic blast fest. Brilliant. Same with Steel Inferno, sort of carrying on that theme from Panzer Division Marduk, which is fantastic. Perish in Flames, heavy, slow, hypnotic track. Brilliant. Holy Blood, Holy Grail is really good. Same with Warschau and Everything Bleeds and Blutrache. The only song which I find just okay is Death March, which is kind of like a war rally marching song. And it's catchy enough, but it just loops for way too long. But so yeah, the album kind of just drops off a little bit at the end, but for the most part, like most of these songs are absolutely brilliant. So I've named most of the songs as my favorites here. Cool cover art with this one. And yep, booklet with all of the lyrics. And pictures of the band and so on. Yep, so absolutely great stuff. So this was the album which came out just after the mid-period lineup had collapsed, and it was just a fresh vitamin injection for the band. Awesome album. So coming in at number 6, Plague Angel. Okay. Okay, coming in at number 5 now. So top 5, I would say, are just essential albums. Coming in at number 5, we have Memento Mori from 2023. So this is the band's most recent album. So that's just testament to the fact that this band is not one of those bands that rests on its laurels or relies on past glories, unlike a lot of other big rock bands. I won't name any names, but yeah, the most recent album, and it's in the top 5. That's how good I think it is. This album is just absolutely brilliant. It's an aggressive, relentless blast fest with that organic production which I mentioned, and a couple of slow but really good tracks, which are Shovel Beat Scepter and Charlatan. But for the majority album, it's just that chaotic, blasting, classic Marduk sound. And it even sort of harkens back to the like early days. Like, for example, on, the opening track, Memento Mori, like there's that open chord riff without the drums. It's sort of reminiscent of the album Heaven Shall Burn, at least to me. Anyway, but yeah, all songs on this are really good. It's that classic Marduk formula, and you know what you're going to get. So I really like Memento Mori, Heart of the Funeral, Blood of the Funeral, yep, Shovel Beat Scepter, Charlatan, Coffin Carol, Marching Bones, Year of the Maggot, and Red Tree of Blood. The only song which I find just okay is As We Are, which is kind of like an outro. But yeah, apart from that, all songs are really good, no complaints. And To me, the absolute pinnacle of this album, like the completely kick-ass tracks. So yeah, the opening track, Memento Mori. Also Blood of the Funeral, which has those kind of swarming riffs, like it's a swarm of bees or something. It's absolutely brilliant, in addition to the blast beat drumming. I also really like the song Coffin Carol, and the main riff in that and the blasting. It's a bit reminiscent of the Panzer Division Marduk song Fist Fucking God's Planet, but maybe a bit faster, and it's got a good melodic bass solo outro. So wow, what a great song. That's Coffin Carol. And I also really like Year of the Maggot, because that's got like a kick-ass chaotic fast riff, which is super memorable. And Red Tree of Blood sounds a bit like Werewolf from Victoria in some parts. So not that the band was ever waning, but like you could say this is a great return to form, because it's just like the newest album and it went almost straight to the top for me. So I wholeheartedly recommend this album. You know, I know you get those elitist people who say, oh no, I only like the old stuff, I don't like the new. Trust me, if you haven't given this album a chance, you're missing out. Do so, because it's fucking awesome. So there's the cover. No traditional logo, but there it is. And very cool art direction and booklet with the black and white pictures of the band. Oh, and this was the album which saw the arrival of new drummer Simon Schilling, who is awesome, because I saw this lineup just recently when I saw them in Thailand. It was absolutely fantastic. Yep, so newest album, and coming in at number 5, Memento Mori. Okay, now, I'm not going to shit you, the last 4 albums are all 10 out of 10 to me. So it's really hard to even rank among these, but I do it in terms of things like nostalgia and, you know, what the albums mean to me. By the way, guys, we're up at 41 minutes. Considering there's 15 albums, like, it's about 3 minutes per album, so I really don't think I'm babbling. If you do, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. Coming in at number 4, Dark Endless. This is the band's debut album from 1992, I think. And what's interesting about this album is that it's steeped in death metal. So this is coming from the era where there wasn't a lot of black metal around, but death metal bands were starting to change to black metal. Some of them, anyway, like the ones that did. But unlike Dark Throne's Soulside Journey, this is not a purist death metal album, because you still have the raspy black metal vocals, the satanic lyrics, and also the band adorned in corpse paint. So it's sort of like, you could say it's black death metal, but I think it's just absolutely brilliant. It's just got this raw, heavy, intense sound. Like with the death metal, it's like old school dark death metal, really super memorable riffs, and a lot of them are doom laden as well, but they also have loads of blast beats. And I just love the production. It's kind of like raw and echoey, and the drums are really clattery. It's just a glorious album, like absolute perfection. Just looking at the songs, like it opens up with Still Fucking Dead, which is brilliant. Also The Sun Turns Black as Night, very catchy and groovy. Within the Abyss, one of my favorite songs. The Funeral Seemed to Be Endless is really good. Departure from the Mortals has some atmospheric keyboards in that song. The Black, oh god, that opening riff, you know, the dent, before the blast kick in and that scream, fucking brilliant. Then the title track, which I've mentioned, that's doom laden and atmospheric, probably the best song on the album, but all of these songs are really good. And then Holy Inquisition, very dark and atmospheric. So I've literally described every song on the album, because every song is brilliant. This is 10 out of 10. Cool artwork, which is one of my favorite artworks of all time. And interesting booklet, there's nothing in it. So picture of the band corpse painted, kind of boring disc. It's funny, with this album, Dark Endless, I've heard a lot of people say, especially back in the early days of Marduk, like in the 90s, people used to say, oh, it's a death metal album, it's their worst album. I say to that, a categorical bullshit. It's a brilliant album if you appreciate it for what it is. There are no bad songs, and it's just that unique atmosphere which takes me to the darkness of the forests in Sweden. So, number 4, Dark Endless. Okay, coming in at number 3. Oh, I don't need to scroll anymore because I know all these albums from memory. Coming in at number 3 now is Panzer Division Marduk from 1999. Absolutely savage, vicious, a complete beast of an album. Fucking brilliant. It's relentless, it's blasting, it's intense, it's violent, it never stops, basically. So this is an entire album which is super fast, consisting of blast beats and screamy vocals, fast chaotic riffs the whole time. It never slows down, apart from the beginning of track 4, Scorched Earth, which has got this mammoth, slow, fat, heavy riff which sounds like tons of rolling steel. So that's the other thing. This album is really fast. It's known for how fast it is and for the blast beats, but just the guitar tone and the drum sound, it sounds so fat and heavy to really encapsulate that concept of like rolling steel, the rolling Panzer tanks. It's just, this album is a massacre from beginning to end. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, every song sounds the same. Bullshit, again, like every song, I will admit every song has the same level of intensity because they're all fast and blasting, but the riffs on each song are memorable and just really enjoyable. And yeah, that's all I can say about it. You need to own this. Like as Terrorizer magazine said, this album will knock your ass into next week. It's just fast, brutal, relentless black metal, and it's brilliant. So heavy as well. So yep, I won't name all of the songs because, like, I'll just say this: all of the songs on this album are brilliant. But my absolute favorites are the opening track, Panzer Division Marduk. I remember when I bought this album, just after it was released, after I came home from the exam at university, within 30 seconds of hearing that song, I went, all right, this is fucking awesome. My other favorite tracks are Baptism by Fire, Beast of Prey, and Blood Dawn, but the whole album is really good. Like, Christ Raping Black Metal is a crowd favorite, but I don't really like the chorus in that song, but I really like the verse part, like with that manic riff, like, oh, it's so good. So yeah, nothing to say. 10 out of 10, you need to hear this album. If you've heard people say that this is a bad and repetitive album, don't believe them, just go and listen to it. Fucking awesome. Love this iconic picture of the band. Yep, so this is when the band started delving into the theme of World War II, obviously. And yeah, it's an absolute masterpiece, 10 out of 10. So coming in at number 3, Marduk with Panzer Division Marduk. Okay, down to the top 2 guys, and this was really difficult, but I'm sure people know what my favorite album is of all time. But coming in at number 2 now, what's on the shirt here? Heaven Shall Burn When We Are Gathered from 1996. This album is very special to me because it's the first Marduk album I ever heard. I'd always seen the logo, and I remembered, this was back in the day, like seeing the artwork for Fuck Me Jesus, and I thought that was interesting. But it was really when I read a review of this album and an interview of the band, like in 1996, that caught my interest. So like when I was reading Terrorizer in 1996, read the review of this album, the interview, and I thought I need to buy this because they gave it a glowing review, and then I bought it. This was my introduction to Marduk, and I was completely hooked. This was the first album. It's interesting. First album with Legion on vocals after Joachim af Graf had left the band. By the way, Panzer Division Marduk was a Legion album as well. Yes, so this is the first album with the classic lineup. It's got the first album with Peter Tegtren's crystal clear, big production, and it makes it sound so thunderous and heavy and menacing. The drumming from Fredrik Andersson is just a firestorm on this album. It's the way Peter produced those drums, it's just got this thunderous, clattery sound, which just, it gets me every time. The bass sound is fucking mammoth and monumental. Like in that song Legion, like when you hear B-War go, doom, like it's just like a tolling bell. That's how heavy the bass is. Fantastic. So it's got a really meaty, heavy sound and a lot of like really fast manic riffs, haunting riffs. It's also like interesting because some songs have a juxtaposition of haunting, so like haunting and depressing with fast and chaotic, like the Black Tormentor of Satan. But like there are no bad songs on this. Perhaps like the only song that no, actually I wouldn't say, like I was going to say, what is it, Darkness It Shall Be is a bit repetitive, but it just really showcases the band's brilliance in terms of how quickly they can play, and you know, it's just a relentless blast fest, that song. But my favorite songs on this are Beyond the Grace of God. You know, that's one of my favorite songs, especially when they shift into that groovy mid-pace section. Glorification of the Black God with that intro from the Russian composer Muskorsky, I think it is, you know, like Night on the Bare Mountain. I love it. That's my favorite song on the album. Brilliant lyrics from Legion on Glorification of the Black God, in the shape of a black goat, the Dark Lord himself presiding over the revelry. And yeah, the Black Tormentor of Satan is great. It's like, it's a combination of violent with depressing, which I like. Then the song Drackle in Domnivu, I always forget that name, it's a long name anyway, but that showcases the band's ability to kick your face in while moving at a slow pace, and it's really heavy. And then the last track, Legion, that song is powerhouse, just like so absolutely, utterly violent and intense. It's the ultimate statement of this band, and I really like you know, Legion's lyrics, he has a lot of really good rhyming couplets in it, and the lyric I really like in that song is, with the demons that possess my blackened heart and soul, I will strive for Satan's triumph and reach infernal goals. Fantastic. Yeah, so awesome, awesome album. You need to hear it. If you haven't, I'm sure you have, but like, cool cover art here, which is sort of inspired by maybe the orcs from Lord of the Rings or something. So Satan's minions fighting heaven. And cool portraits of the band here. Legion on vocals, he's described as Mouth of Satan. Morgan B. War. And Frederick Anderson, drums of doom. Frederick Anderson, the thunderous powerhouse drummer. Kick ass. Yep, so coming in at number 2, Marduk with Heaven Shall Burn When We Are Gathered. Okay, now all together now, everyone knows my favorite album. And if you don't, I'll just go ahead and say it now. But coming in at number 1 for me is Those of the Unlight from 1993. This is the band's second album. So from the early period, featuring Joachim av Grav on vocals. Oh, by the way, Dark Endless was the one which featured Andreas Axelsson. So, yeah, as I've said many times before, this is not only my favorite Marduk album, it's my favorite black metal album of all time, and in fact my favorite metal album, and in fact my favorite album of all time. Absolute masterpiece. What I really like about this one, this is when the band, after moving from Dark Endless, they launched into full-on black metal. And it's interesting because it's an interesting combination of like brutality and blasting with melody and atmosphere, because some songs feature acoustic guitars and somber bass solos. There's also some experimentation with atmospheric synthesizers, for example, on the instrumental Echoes from the Past, which I really like. And I could get crucified for this, but I really think that this album sort of takes a very slight influence from melodic death metal, but I'm not talking about Arch Enemy or something like that, but bands like Ablaze My Sorrow, it's like these really, like, they're still fast, relentless black metal riffs, but they've got these kind of really hooky melodies which you can really sink your teeth into. And I like the production on this album. Again, it's quite raw. The vocals are howled and they're kind of echoed, and it's got that clattery drum sound again. Like this album, when I close my eyes and listen to it, it takes me into the darkness of Swedish forests. It really means so much to me. When I first bought this album in 1998, I used to just like listen to it on repeat, and you know, it took me to another world. Like this album is godly, like absolutely fantastic. You need to hear this album as a black metal fan if you haven't. So I'm not going to name my favorite tracks because they're all good. Like, so yeah, Darkness Breeds, I'll just list them. Yeah, Darkness Breeds Immortality, Those of the Unlight, Wolves on Darkened Wings, Burn My Coffin, such a good song. A Sculptor of the Night, Echoes from the Past, Stone Stands at Silent Vigil, all are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so probably my absolute favorites though would be Darkness Breeds Immortality, Wolves on Darkened Wings, Burn My Coffin, and Echoes from the Past. But yeah, all are really good. That famous iconic cover art there. Just some credits, pretty basic. And there's the disc. So yeah, I won't say any more than this. You've heard me talk about it many times, but absolutely, it's my favorite Marduk album. And I doubt that's ever going to change. So coming in at number 1, Those of the Unlight. So there you have it, guys. That completes my ranking. So the video went on slightly longer than I expected, but it's not atrociously long. So considering that there are 15 albums to talk about and I did a little intro, I think that's not too bad. But anyway, let me know what you thought of this video. What do you think of these albums? And if you disagree with me, that's a good thing, because it would be boring if we were all the same. Maybe tell me your ranking. But any comments or questions would be greatly appreciated. You know, Marduk are my favorite black metal band, and that's never going to change, I don't think. Because ever since I discovered them in 1996, it just had a tremendous impact on my life. All right, so anyway, that's it. I don't want to keep you any longer, but thanks a lot for watching. If you made it this far, congratulations. I should have said at the beginning, grab a drink and some snacks maybe, but maybe you did. But yeah, I enjoyed making this. This was long overdue. And finally, I can put it to rest because I've been building this one up for a long time. So in the next one, I will talk about Marduk's other releases like singles, EPs, and live albums. But yes, in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. Please comment. That would be cool to get some discussion going. And please subscribe if you like this video and you haven't subscribed yet. Thanks a lot for your support of the channel, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.